Alright, what is up guys, and welcome to my first GOAT format deck profile of many that I'm sure I will be doing. I wanted to do a video that was sort of a complete deck building guide to GOAT format with all of the different cards available in the card pool and all of the staples and deck building choices and why people prefer certain choices over others. But that video is going to be pretty complex, and so I figured I would push that a little bit further down the road and just kind of get in the door with doing some GOAT format videos by just showing off the deck profile for my main GOAT format deck that I play. So this is Chaos Warrior, and this is not only my favorite GOAT format deck that I play, where if I were to actually play at locals with it, I would bring this, fully built in paper with me. But I also put a fair bit of money into this to try to bling it out a little bit, and I'm not anywhere near done with that, but I have come a long way, and I'm pretty proud of some of the cards I have in here. I also kind of went with these Dragon Shield silver sleeves, and a little bit of history on that is that my very, very first deck I played all the way back in 2002 as a kid with just, whatever scrap cards I could pull from starter decks and packs. I sleeved in silver sleeves like this. Of course, they were like Ultra Pro sleeves back then, and they weren't as good. The backs got scratched, and the lining got peeled off in places, and you could like see through to the card on the other side, and it just looked awful. But I took care of my cards for the most part, but those sleeves did get pretty roughed up, and I'm sure I have those still in a tin or a box somewhere to this day. Figured I'd go with silver to kind of bring back that nostalgia a little bit, because that's what GOAT format's all about, right? If you guys want a little bit of a history about GOAT format, I did do a live stream about a year ago, and I uploaded the highlights to YouTube, and I explained the format itself at the beginning of that video, and then I will also do a more in-depth discussion when I do that GOAT format card guide. But for now, let's go ahead and get into it. This is essentially it's very similar to GOAT Control, but it is a lot more aggro. And I found that it actually has a pretty favorable matchup against GOAT Control. I so far am pretty much undefeated with this at the local level. Huge shout out to my friend Henry. He put together a GOAT format tournament at his house over a Christmas party that he had December of last year. And we played a GOAT Control mirror, which I lost. And then I brought out this version of the deck and played up against GOAT Control and I think 2 zombie players and beat all of them. And then at locals at Hawk's Nest Gaming, which I go to, I've played against the players there that play GOAT format, and they have both played like Burn, like Control Burn with like Lava Golem and stuff like that, and I've beaten both of them. So I so far have a pretty much perfect record with this deck, and the goal is just you play all the good generic staples, but you also play like a small warrior toolbox thing with the best light and dark warriors you have access to summon the chaos monsters. So right off the bat here, of course, we have the BLS. I went with the Duelist Saga BLS. I would love to have either the Collector's Rare or the Master Collection one, or even the Yugi's Legendary Collection Secret Rare one, but this one is really, really nice as well. I do not have an original IOC one, but I would love to get one. Everybody that knows GOAT format knows this is the blowout card, and having an answer to this is pretty important. Otherwise, you'll probably lose the game to it. But there's a lot of removal for this guy. Bottomless Sack Armor, Raigeki Break. Going with 2 Chaos Sorcerers, I want to get the super rares from Yugi's Legendary Collection for both of these instead of having the one gold rare and the one common. But again, it's just more chaos monsters. You almost never break on these guys, and if you can get your opponent to use their removal on this guy and still have the BLS live, then that's pretty good. Triple Blade Knight. Blade Knight is one of the best light warriors in this format. You're rarely going to get him up to the 2000 attack, so the 1600 may seem a little bit weak, but the benefit to this guy is his other effect, the destroying a monster by battle and negating its effect, or the powerful flip effects like Magician of Faith and Cyberjar. So having this guy is extremely important for counteracting those powerful graveyard effects. And he's, a light warrior, and light targets are pretty hard to come by in GOAT format. I do have one Collector's Tin copy, which is in pretty rough shape. And I do have some Champion Pack rares, which I guess I could dig out, but I don't really like the regular rare rarity. Most people don't. For one of the Dark Warrior targets, we decided to go with Zombira the Dark. This guy's a little controversial because he is what the community considers a fat beater, where he has a high base attack but a major drawback. I would consider his drawback not nearly as bad as some of the other fat beaters like Dark Elf and Jiraigumo and that sort of thing. but he's base 21. He can clear every other single normal summon in GOAT format. He can clear a fully powered up Breaker or a Kaiko and still have enough attack to be a wall. The problem with him is he can't attack directly, but usually he is going to be something that just clears out a problematic beater that your opponent has to create a tempo switch back into your favor. Or he's going to be there as a wall or something to bait out your opponent's removal. You know, he's going to bait out your opponent's Mirror Force or their Torrential or their Bottomless or something like that to get rid of this guy. So you can then invest more in your better utility monsters. Other than him, the other Dark Warrior considerations are unfortunately like Dark Blade, which is a vanilla. It only has 1800 and doesn't deal with the majority of the threats in the format. So as far as having a Dark Warrior, unfortunately he's one of the best options we have because the other options just don't deal with a lot of the problems in the format like he does. So in spite of his drawback, he's probably the best option we have. I've debated between 1 and 2 of this guy, Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. His effect does not come up too much, but I really like this guy. I didn't know about this guy for the longest time until some people kind of turned me on to him, but he's another great light warrior. His effect does come up every once in a while. He's only available in regular rare and the ultimate rare printing from Soul of the Duelist, and I'm obviously not going to shill off money for 2 ultimate rares of him. But yeah, he's another great consideration. Base 18 and deals with cards like Spirit Reaper, which is a huge deal. Next are the utility warriors, the toolbox warriors, if you will. So we have the one Donzelu, got the Speed Duel secret rare there, the DD Warrior Lady Duel Saga version, and then Exile Force. So both of these are extremely powerful, and they're each a light and dark, respectfully. If your opponent's already on their back foot, losing a card to battle from Donzelu is just huge. DD Warrior Lady is extremely powerful removal that you need to very carefully select when you're going to implement that, because if your opponent's going to want you to waste your banish with DD Warrior Lady on something trivial, so you really want to save that for a moment where it's going to give you a lot of value. And then Exile Force is either a target off of Rhoda, or if you're playing like an Earth-centric deck, he can be a target off of Giant Rat, and he's just spot removal. There is a Hobby League version of this out there somewhere, but I think the only other foil printing is the original Legacy of Darkness Super Rare, which is probably what I'll end up getting, so I'm not playing a common. But yeah, all of these are invaluable. I would not change anything about this at all. Next, we have 2 Magician of Faith. Duelist Saga, incredible staples of this format, being able to recover those powerful spells like your Big 3 and your Heavy Storm and stuff like that is just incredible. This card is a very known threat in the format, so this is definitely going to be a Nobleman of Crossout target. So you have to be very careful when you implement this. This card is only ever as good as the spell you can get back from it, so using this card strategically is very important, but we definitely play 2 because it's at 2 in this format for whatever reason. We obviously have the one of Breaker because he's limited. I want to get either a Yui's Legendary Collection Ultra Rare of him or a Master Collection Secret Rare instead of this Gold Series one, but this is still pretty nice looking for what it is. We've got a Kaiko, which is a anti-chaos monster and a decent beater and a dark. So just a great card, gets rid of names out of your opponent's graveyard. Staple in GOAT format for sure. We have Spirit Reaper. I got a Legendary Collection Ultra Rare there. I love Ultra Rare, and this is also the one printing of the card that's card text actually is correct and explains what it does. So an important thing about Spirit Reaper is that the effect to destroy itself happens on resolution. So if you Book of Moon Spirit Reaper, at the point of resolution it'll be face down, and then its effect will no longer be live. So Book of Moon does not actually answer Spirit Reaper, but there are, of course, a lot of other cards that do. So this card is incredibly important. It's what you could grab off of Sangan, or grab if you're in a defensive position you need to wall up, or if you're in an offensive position you want to rip cards out of your opponent's hand. Just insane card. Everybody knows how great that card is. You got the secret rare Sangan there. The normal summon of Sangan is a huge threat in this format because you don't want to beat into it, and you don't want your opponent to get that value off of it. And so normal summoning Sangan a lot of times puts your opponent in a pretty precarious situation. And so this guy often sticks around on the board a lot longer than you think it would because people don't want to battle into it. And then Morphing Jar, just kind of a sacky, fun card, replenishes your hand. Doesn't always add value to you, but it's just fun. It's a really fun card. And then, of course, Cyber Jar, same thing. I do have the Ultimate Rare version of this, but because it's Ultimate Rare, I don't actually want to play it. I just want to keep my collection binder. And that's it for the monsters. Onto the spells. I think that something that a lot of people did not do historically in GOAT format that people should do nowadays is play triple Book of Moon. So Book of Moon is at 3 in GOAT format, but people didn't play it at 3 for whatever reason historically. These are ultra rares from Battles of Legend Armageddon. I think there's a secret rare Book of Moon from Speed Duels or something, but I'll keep this version, it's fine. But Book of Moon is one of my favorite utility cards in the entire game. It does so much. You can use it offensively, you can use it defensively, you can use it to recycle a powerful flip effect like a Gravekeeper Spy or a Magician of Faith or a Morphing Jar. It can be chained to removal, so if your opponent MSTs it, you can flip it face down. If you go into your battle phase as the aggressor and you attack and your opponent activates a back row, you can chain the Book of Moon from your hand because it's a quick play to protect your monster from the back row. It's just incredible. It is such a versatile utility card, and in my opinion is one of the most well-designed cards in the entire game still to this day. And I think playing any less than 3 of it in most GOAT format decks is a mistake. Of course, we have the big 3, which I got in all secret rare. I love these. These are from Legendary Collection Yugi. This is from Legendary Collection Kaiba. If somebody wanted to play with house rules with GOAT format that said these 3 are not legal, I would be perfectly fine with that. They are definitely sacky, although I don't really complain as much as most GOAT format players do when their opponent activates one of these, because usually when you activate one of these, your opponent will usually groan like, "Oh God, such a fair card. Oh my God, drew the sack you one of," and you hear that kind of stuff all the time, and I just can't stand it. I mean, you have an equally likely possibility of drawing it as your opponent does, so I don't get that way when my opponent activates these things. It's still possible to win after your opponent resolves these, depending on how the game goes. And I've had that happen before where my opponent has activated these powerful cards and I've still won. Delinquent Duo, to me, is the most unfair one, because unlike most cards in GOAT format that get rid of your opponent's cards, there's nothing you can chain to this, unless you're like a sadistic maniac playing Magic Jammer or something like that, which, let's face it, you're probably not going to do. So there's nothing really you can chain to this to protect those cards in your hand, whereas there are certain back row that you can play where you can chain it to your opponents like MST or Heavy Storm, but you can't do that with duos. So it's some of the most permanent removal in the game in GOAT format, and it's just super unfair. And so if somebody wanted to play with house rules and said we don't play this card, I would be fine with that. But if they want to play true GOAT format, it's in the deck. Yeah, gotta play it. There's 3 other cards as well that should be considered in the big 3 and make it big 6, I guess. And that's these 3 cards that are still banned to this day. Keep in mind, Giant Trunade is at 3 in this format. So in some of the more aggro decks, you'll play like 3 Giant Trunade and just return this card to your hand, activate it again, and then get another monster out of your graveyard as long as you're willing to pay another 800. So it's insane for that reason. This is a Dark Beginning 1 super rare. Heavy Storm obviously is crazy, but like I said, this is the big punish for overcommitting to back row, because traps are so powerful in this format, but having a powerful equalizer like this does help. There is an argument to be made for certain back row that is chainable to this, such as Threatening Roar and Raigeki Break, to where it's not as much of a punish for your opponent playing this, because if you're playing something like Sack Armor, then you just lose all of your value when you get blown out by Heavy Storm if you don't have back row that's chainable to the activation of this. And then Snatch Shield, this is original ultra rare. It's not a first edition, but it is an original 2002 printing, because you can tell by the style of the printing done on it, and it's a magic ruler, not a spell ruler. It's an insanely powerful card. You can attack with the card you take, you can tribute the card, you can get it off of your opponent's board to make your opponent's board available to attack into if they have only 1 monster. You can activate the monster's effect if it's a Chaos Sorcerer or a BLS. I mean, there's just so much you can do with this. It is definitely a blowout card, just like the others we've just shown off. For more spells, of course, MST is at 1 in this format. We got a nice little secret rare one there. You got to be careful when you use this. Obviously, like I said, you want to use it to punish your opponent for committing too much back row. Get rid of their Sakuretsu armor and stuff like that. I want to actually run 2 Noblemen of Cross out, but I'm trying to get the Speed Duel Secret Rare one. This is the original Pharaoh Servant Super Rare. Noblemen of Crossout is crazy in this format because it really punishes the people that rely on those powerful flip effects. So it completely ruins Magician of Faith, Dekoichi, Gravekeeper Spy, a lot of the cards played in the Chaos Turbo deck. And so one of the strong points of this deck actually is that it does not fall victim to this card, because a lot of the most powerful effects in GOAT format are those flip effects. And there are so many decks that I would want to play Gravekeeper Spy in, but I'm very hesitant to, purely because this card exists at 2 in the format. Speaking of crazy cards that exist at 2 in GOAT format, is Rhoda. So Legacy of Darkness Super Rare, Speed Duel Secret Rare. I want to get a second one of these so I can put this one back in the collection binder. But having 2 Rhoda just means that your warrior toolbox is that much more of a toolbox. You have better access to any of the utility cards you need, like your Exiled Force and your DD Warrior Lady, whenever you need them. That's one of the reasons why warrior strategies are viable. And now onto the traps. I probably play more traps than a aggro deck like this would, but I think they're all warranted. So we have of course, the Mirror Force, got a secret rare there. Call the Haunted. It can be used defensively or to aggro with if it's your turn and you activate it before you commit to your battle phase. If your opponent's attacking into you, you can bring back a powerful guy with this. Bottomless is such a huge removal card in this format because it banishes the monster, so the monster doesn't get to float into the graveyard to be banished for a chaos effect. It answers BLS, it answers Chaos Sorcerer, Breaker answers Kaiko. It's great, and I think it's kind of underrated in GOAT format. But once again, it's one of those cards that's not chainable to MST or Heavy Storm. We've got Torrential, the best blowout back row in GOAT format. We've got Ring of Destruction. I do have an ultimate rare of this as well, although, like I said, I wouldn't actually play the ultimate rare, just keep it in the collection binder. This is another one of the most important cards in GOAT format. It can cause draws, which is really important, but not only is it removal, but it is also chainable to back row. And if you need to, you can close out a game where you are, let's say you're ahead on life, you just attack your opponent for a bunch of damage with like BLS or something, and they have 3,000 or less left. You just activate this, pop your own BLS, and kill them off that turn. It's just incredibly powerful. And then I'm on 2 Sack Armor. It took me forever to find these 2 super rares. These are not the Champion Pack super rares that are insanely expensive. These are the Legendary Collection Yugi, but I wanted a foil Sack Armor so badly. Again, there's an argument to be made over playing cards like Threatening Roar and Raigeki Break over these, but it's just whatever you think you're going to need in that particular setting, that particular tournament. It's a trade-off regardless. So that is it for Chaos Warrior. No extra deck, no Metamorphosis package or anything like that. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys ever want to play some GOAT format, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to. And I'm definitely going to make some more GOAT format videos soon. And I definitely want to make that card-by-card guide that I mentioned. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.